Hey, Connor here for the Hartville Church of Christ. I'm currently in Craig's office with Craig, who is our preacher here and has been for the past year, a little bit over a year. If you guys have watched any of my previous videos, there's one where I talked about the different styles of videos I was hoping to do as I was doing things for the church. And one of those styles was an interview with those that have had an impact on my life and my Christian journey, as well as people who have more of a leadership role here at the church, or really just, anybody. So I was going to start out by doing those here with Craig to get to know him a little bit better. So thank you, Craig, for giving me some of your time and answering some questions.
Yes, thank you, Connor.
So to start out with, your previous job was in Georgia. So are you originally from the South?
No, actually, I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's about a 3-hour drive from here, but I was born and raised in Pennsylvania outside of Pittsburgh. Wasn't raised in the church. But after, I guess, sort of some rebellious years, felt like I needed a new beginning, a new start. And my aunt, she had lived she still does live in Knoxville, Tennessee. And she allowed me to come and live with her. And so that was the new beginning I was looking for. And it was at that point in time that she introduced the gospel to me. And, it was sort of, I guess, the thing that changed my life. And so, no, I grew up in Pennsylvania 21 years. I lived in the South for like about 16 or 17, but now I'm back northward here.
All right. So you mentioned that you went to Tennessee and your aunt helped you become a Christian and be involved in the church. How exactly does that happen? Because, you didn't grow up in the church. So being a preacher, I'm sure that wasn't ever part of your plan for your life. So
yeah, it's sort of funny because whenever people find out I'm a preacher in Pennsylvania, they're sort of shocked. And yeah, I never would have guessed that I'd be a preacher.
Right.
I've been preaching for 10 years, but listen, the gospel is the power in our lives to change our lives. The gospel, if there's anything that can change who we are from the inside out, it's the gospel. And so I think I'm a living testament to that. God has worked in my life and has just changed me as a person. But there is a lot of things that factored into that. Of course, the influence of my aunt, but also she worshiped at a church. It's the Carnes Church of Christ in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that church oversees a preaching school.
Okay. And
so while I was worshiping there, I had a lot of interaction with the preaching students, and a lot of the preaching students, they were my age. And so, I was just really, I guess, introduced to a lot of good people, a lot of godly people my age who influenced me. And I was just impressed by their lives. I really coveted what they had, and so that definitely was something that had a great impact on me. But my aunt also paid for me to go on a mission trip to Pohnpei. It's an island in the Pacific.
Okay.
And just going on that trip, seeing people live in a different area of the country, in the world, third world country, it had a profound impact on me.
Right.
And then also people too, they're thirsting and hungering for the word, and for me to have an opportunity to teach them was just, it was just a life changer. It was something that I felt like, I think I want to do this,
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, probably moving to Madisonville, Tennessee from Knoxville, moved to an area where the church was smaller. It's only about 60 members. And I had an opportunity to lead prayers and to preside over the Lord's table and, just do devotionals and things like that. I guess just serve in a greater capacity than I ever would have been able to at Carnes.
Mm-hmm.
And so just that door being open to me, just again, it all just sort of come together. And
Right.
Eventually I was like, I couldn't be content working in telecommunications anymore. So I decided to go to preaching school where I had already known students and a lot of the instructors there. So
while you were at preaching school, is that where you met Amanda, and that's how you two eventually, became married? How exactly did you two meet?
Well, Amanda's family, they are a large part of that congregation. I don't know. They took up a whole pew, so they were, very involved there.
Right.
So I knew Amanda, her family. I didn't know Amanda as well because she was in college for, like 4 or 5 of the years that I was there.
Mhm.
But when she moved back, back from college, she was going to a lot of the college age events and devotionals. And that's where we really got to sort of build our friendship. And
Okay.
so, yeah, it was through our association with the Carnes Church.
You guys have 3 kids now, and you're expecting one very soon. Is this kind of what you pictured when you thought about, a future and a family? Or, is this just kind of, what God had in planned and you just kind of going with it? What exactly is going on here?
Well, Amanda, she wanted 4 when we were dating.
Okay.
And I always wanted kids. So I was like, 4 is a lot. I don't know. But we had Eli first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we just sort of agreed that, 4 is a lot. So I think in an ideal world, we were thinking a boy and a girl and just be done.
Right.
But we did want to have that experience of having a boy and a girl. And so we decided if we had 2 boys, we want to try for a girl for the third.
Right.
If we had 2 girls, we'd try for the third for a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had Eli, then Owen, and in the third, we had Isaac. So we had 3 boys.
Right.
And so at that point, we were just like, okay, we're done,
Yeah.
But the Lord had other plans. We are expecting in October, for our 4th. We've been praying for a healthy baby, but, also just expressing the desire of our heart. We'd like to have a girl, but we're going to be, happy and praising the Lord regardless. But I guess we have the 4th opportunity to see about the girl.
Right. While you guys were looking for a church, what exactly, were you guys looking for in a church, and what specifically about Hartville was, what you were looking for and what attracted you to Hartville?
Well, I think there was 2 things. Well, probably 3 more so, actually. I mean, we did want a congregation that was close, sort of close knit, that had that family atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And really, from the start, when we first came, we definitely felt loved and welcomed. Never felt any type of judgment or anything like that.
Right.
And so that family atmosphere was important to us. Of course, we were looking for a church that was being overseen by elders.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that John and Lewis are the shepherds here, I mean, that was a big thing for us. And then also too, just where the church stood doctrinally. And since we were on the same page, I mean, just they fit those 3 things. And so really the church, had a lot of appeal.
Okay.
Like I said, one of the big ones was the fact that we, felt the love right from the start.
Awesome. I guess my final question would be, now that you are the minister, the preacher here, do you have a vision? Do you have goals? And if so, what are they for, your job, your mission here in Hartville?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the family atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously in Scripture, the Apostle Paul prays that the congregation's faith would abound, that their love for one another would abound. Mm-hmm. And so there's always room for improvement, even if it's, improving just maybe where you're not quite as strong in a certain area. So when we think about just internally, the congregation inwardly, we're always striving to be complete in Christ. And I think that's what we see in Colossians chapter 1, verse 28. That was sort of like Paul's mission. He said, "Him we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man complete in Christ." And so I believe that, wherever I'm preaching, that's going to be, the objective, that we become complete in Christ. That's what God's desire is for the church. Mm-hmm. That we become a closer knit family, and that we become more and more Christ-like and conformed into His image, Romans 8 and verse 29. And so inwardly, I mean, definitely that's the objective. And there's just so many ways that you can go about, trying to accomplish that. But, that should always be sort of at the focus as you think about just our focus inwardly. As far as just outwardly, like reaching out into the community, the church, the community can't live without.
Okay.
In other words, I mean, the church should have it should be noticed, within the community.
Mm-hmm.
That it actually exists, that it's doing practical things to help, with the community's needs and with people in a practical sense. I think of Acts chapter 17 and verse 6 that the early church, that they were accused of turning the world upside down, but really, I mean, that was coming from an unbeliever who, it was more of a derogatory term. They were really, what they were doing was turning the world right side up. And so, again, I think the point is, when you're the salt of the earth and the light of the world, when you're truly being what God has called you to be, that you're going to make a profound impact on the community. I mean, it takes time. The early church, they didn't turn the world upside down overnight. The church here in Hartville is not going to be the church the community can't live without overnight as well. Right. It takes time. And I think our objective there is shared by the congregation as a whole. It's just a matter of us, finding those practical ways to be able to do that. And, just being what God has called us to be in the community.
All right. Awesome. Well, that's all that I have. So I want to, again, thank you for your time and for allowing us to ask you some questions, get to know you a little bit better. It's a little past due since you've been here for a while. So, but yeah, again, just thank you. Appreciate it. And I don't know, do you have any last things you'd like to say?
No, thank you, brother. I just appreciate it. I think it was a good thing, and looking forward to, more videos to come.
Yeah, same.